Because I mean, losing is a part of life, and it's definitely part of the sport. So I think that at Fargo, I really did learn that it's okay to lose. It just depends on how you take it and what you're willing to do with it. That really counts. Definitely last year during state, I took a loss I shouldn't have, and my coach Madison, he said that it doesn't matter. Like, you can lose 1,000 matches, but just the way what you do after that college is don't look at how many times you've lost. They watch the match after to see what you do after that. So I always carry that with me.
Welcome to Committed. I'm your host, Kirk Bradley, and today we are bringing you one of the top athletes in the country, one of the top athletes in the state of Missouri. She's just took fifth at Fargo. She's an All-American, and with no further ado, she can definitely introduce herself.
Hi, I'm Janiah Jones. I'm wrestling for Parkway South High, and I'm going to be a senior this year, so I'm very excited.
Well, congratulations, Janiah. So to just jump right into things, this is Committed, so obviously we'd love to know, what does commitment mean to Janiah?
I would definitely say commitment means pursuing something other than just a hobby or just like something you like to do on the side. I definitely say committed takes a lot of willpower and a lot of discipline, not only to yourself, but what you're doing, and a lot of respect to those who are around you, just to be able to continue to do what you do. So.
And you, in terms of being committed, where does your commitment to the sport come from?
I definitely say from my community. My community started really small, from my coach walking up to me during a blackout at my school, from me growing from there to the wrestling room, and then outside of that, from my camps to my off-season teams. Just I've never went anywhere without a friend. So I think being committed definitely shows that my community is just where I needed to be. So.
And I love that answer. You mentioned your community. Can you give us a little bit more of a background of how you started wrestling and how that community played a role in you starting to wrestle and things of that nature?
So before like everything else wrestling was even a thing for me, I was just a normal little freshman. I was enjoying high school, the drama, all of it. And one day at lunch, my coach, who I didn't know was going to be my coach, approached me while our school lost power, and he gave me a flyer, and it was about girls wrestling. And he was like, "You look like you'd be good." And he walked away, and I brought it home and I showed my mom. I was like, "Mom, girls don't wrestle. This is absolutely ridiculous." And she's like, "Yeah, I don't want you wrestling." And I thought that was really funny because I was like, yeah, no one's going to do it anyway. And time passes. I miss my bus one day because, I don't know, being late is my thing. But I didn't think my bus would leave me this one day. And so I'm staying after school. And I'm like, I can't just stay after school without my mom. Like, she needs a reason. And my friend stayed after school. And she's like, we should go to the wrestling tryouts. Because, it's funny. We just want to laugh at people. So we go in there, and we're learning all this new stuff. And I'm not overwhelmed at all. I'm excited. I'm having, adrenaline pumping. And I actually, for a solid, whole practice, I was happy. I loved it. And I went home, and I was like, my mom's not going to like this. 'Cause she told me not to wrestle. But I told her that I was only doing it for pictures. And after picture day, I continued to stay, and I was like, "Mom, I really want to wrestle." And one day she eventually gave in because who can't, she was just tired of me just saying I wanted to wrestle. So she let me wrestle, and I won my first ever match, and I never looked back from there. It's been skyrocket off the charts, just full in, and I've loved it ever since.
And you, one thing that stands out with your last answer was that you said you were happy. Where does that happiness come from?
Definitely the people around me. My coaches are always influencing me to take the next step, and they always say hard work goes a long way. So them always pushing me to be the best person I can be, not only in the wrestling room, but outside as a person. Always being honest with myself and others definitely does play a big role. And me going to camps and meeting new people, not only in Missouri, but outside of this state, those people have also been my cheering section wherever I go. So
Okay, okay, and that's a great answer. You mentioned that early on your mom was against you wrestling, and you didn't even know if you wanted to do it. So my question to you would be, what were those early years of that freshman year of wrestling like? And even though you knew your mom was scared, you didn't know you would become the athlete you are today. You didn't even know pretty much anything about the sport. So, could you give us a little bit more information on what that freshman year looked like? The difficulties you dealt with your mom being nervous with you wrestling, or even just with your mom saying like, "Hey, you're my daughter, you're a girl," and how people view women in the sport or women in sports in general.
me personally, I took it as full bliss. This was something that no one else in my school, there was only maybe 7 girls on the team who actually would do it out of maybe 500 kids in my school. So I felt so special. But my mom didn't want me getting hurt because, I'm her only girl. So she was like, I don't want you to get hurt. And there's so many other things out there you could do. And I just stuck with it. And I genuinely love that my mom continued to let me do what she thought, even though she did protest about it. She genuinely did like, I think, seeing me happy do what I did not know I was going to be really good at. Also, in my freshman year, I didn't really understand wrestling or what it actually meant to wrestle. I walked in, I was already kind of beefy. So I mostly just manhandled the girls I wrestled. But after that, my sophomore year, I took off season and I actually did go to wrestling camps. And I took time to actually realize what wrestling really did mean. And that's when I fully began to excel in my career, I think.
And you said you made a very important statement there. You said you learned what wrestling meant. Can you give us a little bit more of an insight on the mentality that's associated with a wrestler? Because most people think we're crazy, we're cutting weight, we're fighting people all day, we can't party. So can you give it what does it take to be a wrestler and the mentality that comes with that?
It takes so much, and it just comes from you have to really dig deep in yourself, and you have to fight your mind 100% sometimes, because while your mind's saying, oh, I can't do this, and you just really you're ready to give up, your body still has like maybe 20% left in the tank. I think being a wrestler means pushing past your own obstacles, knowing that you as your person is your biggest obstacle, and being able to push past that, and see where you fully can exceed to. And so therefore, I think being a wrestler just knows like it just means that you are able to fully push yourself to where you are actually meant to be.
We're back with Committed here with All American Janiah Jones. Hello. So Janiah, you're All American, fifth best girl in the country at your class, for high schoolers. One thing that stood out for me was that you took, not that you took fifth, but you came back to take fifth. If nobody knows this, when you're in consies at an All-American, well, a national tournament, you have to wrestle back and win every single match or you go home. You've won 4. Can you tell us the difficulties with that, the nerves with that, and the excitement with that as well?
When I when I realized that I had to wrestle back after I lost the match, I was definitely nerve wracked and I was upset because who likes to lose? But then I did realize that that I still had a chance to actually come back and win this. I definitely had support from my coaches. I was always texting my coaches throughout this whole thing, and they're just like, "You're gonna beat this next girl," and this, and that, and I was excited because you still get to wrestle and I'm not out of this. There's still a little light bulb in my head saying you have one more. one more. And you just have to keep telling yourself that instead of saying, oh my God, I have to wrestle again, or oh my God, I don't want to wrestle anymore just because of one little setback. And I'm happy I did mentally give up on that because otherwise I would not be an All American. So,
Well, congratulations on being All American. And since we're discussing matches, I'll start by asking you, what is where what's one match throughout the last 3 years, 70 plus wins, only 10 losses. So that's amazing. But of those 10 matches, what was the match that you wish you could have back? Not even have back, but just go change a couple things and why?
I would definitely say Emily Newman from Eureka. She is one of my closest friends because we wrestled at the same club team, and I've practiced with her multiple times. She's an amazing wrestler. She's also grown so much. I love her dad. He's always in my corner and everyone else's corner at our club team. But I definitely would like to have a rematch because I know I could do better. And I think me personally, right now, currently, after the past off seasons and everything, that knowing that nothing is for granted and I can't look over anyone, I would definitely go back and fix a few things, tweak a few things, and I definitely think that I would have that match again. So,
It's dope. So Emily, we're coming back. And and in comparison, you've won tons of matches. What was the match that stood out most for you? What was the most exciting match, or what meant the most for you?
I would definitely say the one against Kaylin Humfeld or Nicole Redmond from Kansas from Junior National Duels. Kaylin Humfeld from Lindbergh. I would definitely say just because the match with her was my first ever tech, and it was also the match that helped me qualify for state during sectionals my sophomore year. I I think that just match the first time I wrestled her, I won, and then the second time I lost because that was not a good day for me because I also mentioned earlier that you have a good some days people are just a better wrestler than you, and that was definitely one of the days. And I just really that had a chip on my shoulder, and I was very upset because I knew I shouldn't have lost that match. It was close, and it was just something I should not have given up. But me knowing that I had my third chance, and this is the one that really mattered, I laid it all out there, and I wrestled the best I had that whole season. And knowing that I came out with a 15-0 win, I was most definitely happy. And the one against Nicole Redmond, I can honestly, I was just in the moment, and I've never like fully walked on a mat and said I'm just here to wrestle. No pressure, no wins or no wins or losses, and I don't care who you are. If you step across that line and you think you're gonna beat me, we're gonna sprawl and we're gonna have a good time on this mat. So after the match was said and done, Kendra Bliss's parents walked up to me and they said, "You just beat the number 18th ranked girl in the state, in the country." And I was like, "No way, that's not her." And I'm doing my research on the stands, and I'm just like, "Wait a minute, I really did." And that's when it kind of clicked for me that you can beat anyone, and you just have to go out there, not ask questions, not commentate, just wrestle. And I know that's easier said than done, and not have your mind working on a spinning wheel. But that was the first match I've ever like not thought about anything and just went out and feel.
And you mentioned when you wrestled her, you said something clicked. Obviously, you're a one of a kind athlete. So, with you being a one of a kind athlete, what moment is that the moment that you knew, or what moment in your career did you know, like, I'm not normal, I'm above average, not even above average, but I am the one?
I would definitely say sophomore year when I placed state, because I also had to wrestle back from consolations. And that's when I kind of realized that, I'm up there with everyone else. I've only been wrestling for only 2 years at that point, and I was like, I just placed sixth in Missouri. I I'm naturally talented. I'm blessed to have that gift that not everyone else has, but me using that to my advantage and also taking time to tweak and write in my own little spice of my technique has definitely helped. And I think that's when I just kind of realized that, you know what, I do have a gift, and I'm going to see where it takes me in my success and who I meet along the line. So
And we kind of touched on this, but you mentioned technique. And we're both, well, I have history wrestling. You're one of the greatest wrestlers in our state right now to do it. What about Janiah? I know I've kind of touched on this earlier, but it wasn't the specific question. What about Janiah makes you unique? Do you have a double? Do you have a mentality? Is it technique? Why are you fifth in the country?
I would definitely say it's my energy. I never drink a lot of caffeine, but when I do, I go a little overboard. But you will always catch me dancing on the sidelines, and I kind of channel that energy in the way I wrestle. And I wouldn't say I have like a specific move because it kind of just depends. My previous coach, Jim Lake, who's also the father of Dylan from Lafayette, he taught me that you don't have to change your style for anyone, you just have to adjust it. And I would definitely say it depends on who I'm wrestling. You kind of get a little bit of my chocolate and you kind of get a little bit of my swirl. Just kind of depends on who I'm wrestling. So I don't have a specific kind of thing, but I do have my own specific flavor.
And that quote stood out to me. You said the coach told you don't have to adjust. You said he told you don't have to change your style for anyone. You have to adjust it. Freshman year didn't turn out the way you wanted to. Come back sophomore year, you take sixth. Junior year, you're a dog and you take fifth. What adjustments? What changed? What adjustments did you make? Like Coach said, you don't change, you adjust. So
This
what was
year,
different?
well, this off season, I have definitely worked on my mental more than anything. I'm so used to just bottling up all my thoughts or talking to myself or just texting like my friends what's always on my mind. And this is just even outside of wrestling. I always have a lot to say, and not all the time someone to say it to. So my female girls coach, Jory Prater, she told me to write it down. And I think that is one thing that I can definitely take away from this summer. I've learned that after every practice, it helps to just take a second and sit down, maybe 5, 10, maybe not even that long, like 30 seconds, just to say, I had a good practice, or this is what I need to work on. I definitely took a lot of time during my wrestling camps and like just after practices, even jot down notes in my phone, like as I'm thinking, like, hey, I should probably work on my low single just because my head's never in their knee, or things, just small things like that. And just looking back at those notes when it's time to practice, you can just say, hey, this is what I want to work on. And even if it's just one-on-one with like your old teammate, Coach Andrew, I just took the time to say like, I need to slow down and just nitpick at the things I really want to just tidy up on. So,
And you've mentioned coaches, you've mentioned your mom, you mentioned your brother, you mentioned teammates. How do, whether it's your mom, your teammates, or your coach, but more specifically your teammates, how does your teammates and Coach Jory, who you mentioned, and your coach, how do they impact your performance?
I would definitely say those people are usually my light during competition, 'cause you see everyone warming up and you see everyone hustle. It's a hustle and bustle during competition. Maybe over 100 people on the floor of a wrestling gym, and you just have to focus on you. And sometimes I let my mind escape that, and those people have always been there to just say, hey, you need to hone in on you. There's no one else here to wrestle this match but you. So Jory and my teammates, they've been my support system, and I genuinely think that they've just made me the person I am, just because of how supportive and how encouraging and how easily they've been able to help me embrace my talent and my gift from God and just what's around me, and just they helped me learn to take it all in.
And you said that all of these individuals have helped you grow as a person. So to get more back to you and make in the sport, how has wrestling impacted you as a woman, and not only just a woman, as a student, just an overall human? How has wrestling impacted you?
I can definitely say it's always something else. There's always one next thing, one big step. And even if you like fail at one thing, or not exactly fail, or you didn't do exactly what you wanted to do, you can always do something to improve. My Coach Madison, our head coach at Parkway South, he's definitely taught me that even if I didn't do as well as I wanted to, whether it's during in school or like I wanted to do something very big outside of school, he's always said you can either change what you did to prepare for that, or you can, if there's a second time around, you do better that second time. And I can definitely say that that's definitely helped me as a person, and it's helped me not break down when things don't exactly go my way, because there's always that next big step, or where whatever it is that you are able to overcome, that hopefully the second time it comes around. So
Well, we got a whole senior year ahead of us. So, speaking about that next big step, what are some next big goals, or what's that next big step for you in the 22-23 season?
definitely I want to focus less on my record and definitely just focus in on more of me. My coach said it's okay to be selfish with your time and what you do with your time. So I definitely want to take less time away. I understand, like, hey, it's senior year, you want to hang out with your friends, but this whole summer I've took time just to focus on my wrestling, and I think I'm going to carry that on to my season, and understanding that nothing's for granted. I also want to make sure that I'm not being jumped over just because, there might be other people out there working harder than me, or people who have done more practices than me, but I also want to make sure that if I can do one extra rep to get better, that's also what I'm going to do, whether that's staying 15 minutes after a practice, or just having a sit down with my coach and just saying, hey, what can I do to fix this? I think that's definitely going to help me for my senior season. So,
Dope. And so with that next big step, your senior season coming up, one of the most exciting things that tons of athletes, everyone has played, well, not everyone, but tons of kids have played a sport in high school, but they're not you. A lot of kids haven't been blessed to even take that next step. So, and by the next step, I mean go to college. Can you give us a little bit more of insight? I know your goal is to win state, but we kind of wanted to know, for all the kids out there that don't get recruited, or even the ones that get recruited, what does that look like? Who's recruiting you, and how can you tell us more about what the recruitment process looks like for you?
I have so many words for the recruitment process. It's overwhelming, but it's exciting. It's everything life could throw at you in just one like big present with a big bow on it. I've definitely had times where I'm just genuinely questioning what I want from each school and what they're able to offer me. But then I also have to think about, like, since college it means basically I'm moving away from home, does this feel like a second home, somewhere where I'm safe and where I'm actually able to grow, not only as a person but as a wrestler, and be able to grow around my community, and is this like a good enough community for my gift?
And with you being, with all of this recruitment going on, with you being a top athlete, um, clearly no one can step in your shoes, and I was not fifth in the country. What are some hardships, or what are some struggles that you experience being a top tier athlete, whether that's having to continue to be great or to live up to everyone's expectations? What does Janiah deal with that nobody sees, or that only kids in your situation see that you can't express? You said you write these things down. So what are those?
So now that I'm an All American, I definitely say one of the hardships or obstacles is knowing that I have a target on my back. But I also know that with that target, and I say this smiling, that if they want a piece, they can come get it. I love a good scramble. I love to know that someone's out here wanting to be in my shoes, and that I full heartedly would love to see, like, someone actually come and try to take it from me. And I have full respect for everyone who does cross that line to wrestle me and shake hands with me. Outside of wrestling, though, there's home issues that everyone deals with. Everyone's a little different. Me personally, I wake up every day at 4:45 just to catch a bus to start school at 7:15. That's if my mom doesn't want to take me to school. And having to be at school till 5:30 and then not get home till probably 7 or 9. that's definitely hard because you have to still do homework, and that's not including shower time, and you're probably in bed by 10, 11, just to get up and do it again the next day, 5 days a week for 10 months. It's definitely not the easiest thing to do, but if it means that I can be great outside of and know that I can easily still do what I love, regardless of whether or not I get enough sleep or not, I'm still willing to do it. I would not trade places in the world to know that I maybe get 6 hours of sleep and I still get to be a state champ. So no one can take being a state champ away from you, but it's not just the hard matches that you wrestle, it's what you do leading up to them and what you do to overcome them that makes you a state champ. So,
And you mentioned one thing that really stuck out to me in that last statement was that you mentioned that there's a target on your back, and that was where I was headed before you even mentioned that. That was my next question. How do you mentioned that like you deal with all this. You wake up at 4:30 in the morning. We have to catch buses to a neighborhood that we've never lived in. We see different houses. We see different people. We see different things. My question to you would be, you're very humble, right? I mean, clearly you're very humble. I mean, freshman year to now, and nothing's changed. If you want it, you can come get it. Um, how are you going to remain committed to a craft knowing that the next stage and this next year, you've got that target on your back? So is it that chip on your shoulder? Or is it just your love for the sport? Is it your love to get out of this environment? How do you remain committed, and how are you going to remain committed to continue being who you are and great at the next level?
I would definitely say a mix of all the things you said, but it's also more of knowing that it doesn't matter where you come from. It just matters how you take the situation and make it into something better. I definitely would say that where I am right now, like as of home issues, is a problem, but I don't want people to look back and say, "Oh my goodness, she's a city kid. She can't do this." I want city kids to look and say, "Hey, if she can do this, I think I can do this too, regardless of what my situation is, and regardless of what's going on at home or with friends in high school." Definitely just keep pushing. My coaches have always said there's always light at the end of the tunnel. My mom's also said the same thing, and I know that sounds really cliche, but I promise that it's always going to get better. God always does have a better plan for everyone, and if not, then he probably wouldn't have put you here. So I know that he would not have put me in my situation if he knew that I wouldn't be able to do it. So I am blessed that I am able to have the gift that he's given me, and I'm blessed to have the community that's around me. I'm just blessed in all areas, regardless of my setbacks, and I want everyone to know that you can do it. And it doesn't matter what's around you. It's just how you take it is what you need to use and utilize.
Well, there you have it, guys. The latest episode of Committed with one of the top athletes in the country, All-American, Janiah Jones. Thank you for your time, Janiah.
Thank you.
Let's go!